When Kirill arrived at his house and parked his car, he exited the vehicle and made his way inside. Excitement filled his veins as he anticipated his evening meeting with Veronica. He stepped out of the elevator, unlocked the apartment door, and entered. As usual, his wife Katya was in the kitchen. She knew that this was the time when Kirill usually returned from work and expected something warm or freshly cooked to be prepared. Today, Katya managed to come home from work an hour early. Kirill was in a good mood, although slightly tainted by the fact that he had to deceive his wife. However, his conscience didn't bother him too much. He simply had to come up with another excuse. "Katusha, hi. I'm here," Kirill called out, taking off his jacket in the hallway. "Hi. Let's wash your hands and sit at the table. I made stuffed cabbage today," his wife replied. Kirill, now in his prime at 46 years old, couldn't help but be consumed by thoughts of Veronica, even in the comfort of his own home. After washing his hands, he sat down at the table and eagerly began to eat the stuffed cabbage. Avoiding eye contact with his wife, he spoke as he continued to eat. "I'm in a hurry, Katusha. I need to have dinner and go back to work. There's an emergency there, and Petrovich won't be able to handle it without me. New materials have been brought in, and we have to assist him immediately. You just returned from work, and they can't solve anything without you." Katya expressed her surprise. "Exactly, there's no other way. And there's a possibility that I'll have to stay overnight." It's quite likely Kirill lied shamelessly. However, his wife believed every word. "Kir, when did you become so responsible? Before, you were reluctant to go to work. Why this sudden eagerness? Did they promise you a salary raise or a bonus? It seems like there's more workload and less pay. Lately you've been bringing home smaller paychecks," Katya questioned. Kirill felt a lump in his throat as he realized that almost half of his salary was being spent on Veronica. They would often meet at cafes and engage in other forms of entertainment. Even though she was married, they had been having an affair for almost 6 months now. Kirill couldn't help but wonder how Veronica managed to deceive her husband, Nika. It wasn't easy for either of them to hide their actions from their families, and this thought weighed heavily on Kirill's mind. Trying to ease his wife's concerns about their reduced income, Kirill assured her that their financial situation was only temporary and that everything would eventually work out. However, Katusha proposed that he consider finding a job with a higher salary to help support their daughter, especially now that she had recently become a mother. Irritated by her suggestion, Kirill insisted that he already had a good job and reiterated that their financial struggles were only temporary. Glancing at his watch, Kirill realized that he was running late for his meeting with Veronica, set for 8 o'clock. He was relieved that she didn't have to worry about her husband Pavel, who worked as a security guard and was away for 24 hours. This made it easier for her to evade suspicion and lie when necessary. They were able to spend time together without any hindrances, sometimes even at Veronica's home. Their rendezvous had become almost routine, and today was no exception. Deep down, Veronica didn't have strong feelings for her husband. It was her second marriage, and she had been living with Pavel for 8 years. Initially, things seemed fine, but she longed for a more sophisticated man, someone with a better job and a car. This desire drew her closer to Kirill, even though he was just an ordinary engineer with limited financial means. Nonetheless, Kirill's income far exceeded Pavel's, and he would occasionally give Veronica gifts, albeit not extravagant ones. Kirill had a stable position at a large company, and their paths had crossed accidentally at a mutual acquaintance's birthday party. From that night onwards, they couldn't resist their attraction to each other, dancing the night away and continuing to see each other in secret ever since. After Kirill left, Katya took care of washing the dishes and then settled herself in front of her laptop. Soon after, exhaustion overcame her, and she fell into a deep sleep. She was rudely awakened by the sound of her husband arriving home. Glancing at the clock, she realized it was almost 6 in the morning. Being a Saturday, Kirill headed straight to bed while she attempted to doze off once more. Eventually, Katya woke up at 8 in the morning and went about her usual routine of bathing and having breakfast. She prided herself on being an excellent wife, caring, kind, and committed, attributes that had allowed her and Kirill to stay happily married for almost 23 years. Growing up in a respectable family, Katya's mother always emphasized the importance of approaching marriage with great seriousness. She believed that a woman's happiness and the happiness of her future husband and children depended on making the right choice. Katya would often brush it off with a laugh, not fully realizing the weight behind her mother's words. However, she acknowledged the wisdom in her mother's advice and was grateful to have her guidance in navigating the complexities of family life. Katya took her role as the heart of their family seriously. She strived to maintain harmony and create a cozy environment at home. Kirill loved and appreciated his wife, fully satisfied with their life together. However, there was an obsession lurking deep within him, his infatuation with Veronica. Was it love or simply a desire for excitement? His friends did not support him in this matter. In fact, his friend Leka cautioned him against betraying Katya, recognizing her as a great wife who deserved better. Leka insisted that Kirill end things with Nika before it was too late, warning of the potential consequences if Katya were to find out. But Kirill stubbornly believed that Katya would never discover his affair with Nika, disregarding the advice of his concerned friend. Katya was calmly enjoying her coffee when she noticed her husband's phone sitting on the table. Normally, he always had it with him, so it was unusual to see it forgotten there. Curiosity getting the better of her, she hesitantly picked it up and opened the message that had just come in. To her shock, she discovered several photos of her husband, Kirill, in bed with another woman. The message accompanying the photos read, "Kirill, meet my wife. She's yours now. I caught you on camera and kicked her out." Katya was completely baffled by what she was seeing. She repeatedly looked through the humiliating photos, unable to comprehend what was happening. After a moment, she snapped back to reality, woke up her husband, and shoved the phone in his face. "What is this?" she exclaimed tearfully. Still half asleep, Kirill struggled to understand. "Who's calling, Katya?" he asked. "Just look at this, and you'll understand everything," she replied as she stormed off into the room. In a fit of anger and sadness, she began throwing out her husband's belongings from the closet. She hastily packed a suitcase with his things and left it in the hallway by the front door. "Katusha, you've completely misunderstood everything," Kirill pleaded, trying to buy more time. "Katusha, listen to me. It was just a meaningless affair. It happens to men sometimes." Before he could finish his sentence, the phone rang. "Kir, Pashka kicked me out. Turns out he found out about us from the neighbors across the street. They've had a grudge against me for a while now. I have nowhere to go, no family in this town, and my friend scolded me, saying I deserve this." Kirill's face fell as he heard the caller's voice. "No, please, don't come here, don't." Katya couldn't believe it was her date. Would Veronica really have the audacity to come here to see her again? She didn't have time to finish her thoughts as the doorbell rang. Kirill opened the door and was taken aback to see Veronica standing there with a suitcase and a large bag, her eyes swollen. Without saying a word, Kirill grabbed his belongings and left, slamming the door behind him. "Why did you come here, Nika?" "It's over between us. My wife won't forgive me," he said angrily as he pressed the elevator button. Katya watched from the kitchen window as her husband helped Veronica load her belongings into the car and drove away. Her whole world crumbled. She cried, sobbed, and took sedative drops to calm herself. It took 40 minutes for her to regain her composure. Then anger surged within her. "Why am I crying so much? He's not worth my tears and suffering. I may not have expected betrayal from my husband, but it's better to know the truth rather than live in ignorance. There are no innocent affairs, only betrayal, she convinced herself. She was relieved that it was Saturday and she didn't have to go to work. She would take the weekend to think and decide how to move forward with her life. Time passed and Katya learned to live without Kirill. She filed for divorce, but as soon as he found out, he rushed to her, calling ahead of time. "Katusha, I'm downstairs. Please, let me come up and talk to you," he pleaded. "Fine, I'll listen," she reluctantly agreed. When she opened the door, Kirill stood there, looking disheveled and defeated. "Katusha, please, let's not get a divorce. We spent so many years together. And we have a daughter and a granddaughter now. I'm begging you. I can't live with Meka. She's completely different, always demanding, and we live in a rented apartment. I understand that the apartment is yours, a gift from your grandmother. I never thought I'd end up in such a terrible situation. Even my friends judge me and don't understand. Katya, I love you so much. I've realized that I only love you. Let's start afresh. A clean slate, you say. What about the betrayal, my hurt, and humiliation? I lived my life for you and our daughter, and now I'm living without you. And you know what? I'm doing just fine. I don't believe you love me anymore. You're only here because you have nowhere else to go, aren't you? Katusha, I apologize sincerely. I want to clarify that I only have feelings for you, and I make a promise. No, Kirill, the most valuable and genuine aspect of life is not simply saying I love you, but rather being by someone's side. It seems you have forgotten our discussion about this long ago. I was always there for you, when you were unwell, when you faced difficulties, when you were recovering from your accident, and even when you took your first steps again. I was by your side when everyone doubted you'd be able to stand up. But now I'm no longer with you. You have chosen to be with someone else, so you can live your life as you wish. You don't need to ask for my forgiveness once more. Perhaps one day I will find it in my heart to forgive you, but not now. Goodbye and farewell.